Today we're going to talk about timelines and why they make a great study strategy. So when can you use timelines? Well, you might not use timelines for your math class, but you can definitely use it for your history class, your sociology class, your English class, if you're talking about literature through time, psychology if you're talking about the timeline when psychology came about, and art history if you're talking about what's happening in the world when pieces of art were made. Why should you use timelines? Well, timelines really do provide an overview of the chronology of events. They also aid you in memory. Simply by writing down the things on the timeline, you're actually learning the timeline information and remembering it. They're a great organization strategy. It's much easier to see things when they're on the line and you've taken them in a large amount of text. If you've taken this large piece of text and condensed it down to snippets of information to put them on a timeline, it's much easier to keep them organized and remember them. Timelines can also help you identify cause and effect, so you can see that something that happened earlier on in the timeline helped cause something that happened later on in the timeline, and if the thing in the beginning hadn't happened, the thing in the end wouldn't have either. You can also use more than one timeline to see world events. If you're in a history class and you make one timeline, use that to help you understand the next timeline you're making. So how do you use those timelines when you study? Well, simply by creating the timelines, you're actually learning the information. Next, you can take a post-it note and blank out words and see if you can fill in the words that were on that piece of the timeline. That will also help you remember. You can also recreate the entire timeline. Take a blank sheet of paper and see how many events you can remember in the timeline without looking back. Last but not least, you can talk them through. If you're an auditory learner, talking through the timeline is super helpful. Get a friend, ask them to give you a couple of events, and you fill those in and you talk them through with your partner. So we're going to take some practice and practice making some timelines about our book that we've been reading. Check out Canvas for the assignment.